So what I wanted to talk to you about was the photographic series that's on the wall at the moment. And in the series, you embody the living doll and return to the streets and the souvenir shops in Old Montreal, and in particular, the church. And so I just wanted to ask you what it meant for you to go back to those places and actually be photographed in those spaces, and to speak about it in terms of closure and refusal and the restoration of balance for both yourself and the souvenir doll. How you sort of bringing yourself into alignment by revisiting these places that you've been thinking about and talking about and working on since 2012 now. So
I think it was a form of defiance, because as you notice in my doll regalia, it's nothing like anything you would see on an actual doll in a souvenir shop. And I talk about from my own Indigenous experience and also my family history. So I put all those things in the doll. So it was an act of defiance going into these souvenir shops, and they actually allowed me to go into these souvenir shops, and their comments were like, "Oh, you look so beautiful. Yes, of course you can take pictures in our souvenir shop." Even though they said no pictures, they allowed me for some reason. And it felt really interesting and good. And I thought that I would get a lot of strange reactions from people, but they actually quite liked it. And it was really fun. So visiting these places, it was an act of defiance and also of resilience, because I'm also indicating that we're still here, but based on the materials that I'm using and the type of dress that I was wearing a ribbon skirt. And that also too talks about the intercultural connections of our people and the notions of trade, and actually using this fabric because, let's say, the fabric came from India, or it came from China, or it came from somewhere else. So it really talks about the globalization of people and that connection with that. So I tried to put that in those dolls, and I always use a lot of Christian symbols because I'm not being disrespectful, but I'm actually just telling a story because I see it like that. So I've always done that in my work, where I was constantly reporting what I see and making art about it.
This is a conversation that you and I have had a lot, but we always talk about the dolls and the importance of the dolls. And in this exhibition, you were the personification of the doll. By you dressing up as the doll, you were sort of empowering the doll. Maybe talk about how the dolls themselves are always lacking agency, and then how you maybe have given empowerment back to the dolls. But you think about the fact that we can see these two little babies here. One is actually missing her arms, for example. So
well, yeah, and like I noticed throughout my time working with dolls, there was always something physically wrong with them. Like they've kind of become silenced or restricted. So because this exhibition is centered around the wake and the funeral for this doll, and these other two dollies are her funeral attendants. They're actually her sisters, but they're very odd looking, because a lot of these dolls had a semblance of being human, like kind of, but not really. For example, these dolls, their eyes are actually orange. And if you shine a light behind their head, they actually look like they're glowing, which is really creepy. I feel like I'm giving these dolls dignity by making them clothing that accurately represents them in my time and from my ancestors. So in a way, they're kind of like an indicator of resilience and the fact that we're still here. And I consciously took the fabrics, and for example, I used the Ukrainian scarf, which is also actually, we call it the kokum scarf because we adopted it from Ukrainians who had settled in Winnipeg. And from what I understand, they were not accepted, but we took them in. And then how the kokum scarf, as we know it now, trickled through powwow culture. and we all adopted it. So I think it just shows a sense of humanity because we appreciated beautiful things. So to us, the Ukrainian scarf was very beautiful. And I've lived up north, like in Chickamauch, Quebec, where my father is from. And a lot of the grannies will wear these scarves for praying because they still pray, but they also follow their traditional ways in the way that I do it. So that's why I chose the kokum scarf, and also indicators of chickadees that can be found in my backyard. I have little chickadee footprints on the doll's dress that I've beaded on meticulously to bring them a new sense of life and a new story that's actually the true story of Indigenous folks.
And I think that's great, and because you're also giving them power as well, right? Because like this one, her eyes do not open. These ones have eyes that are challenged. This one doesn't have any arms. We've also had dolls where they've been nailed onto a stump so they can't walk anywhere, or their arms don't move so they can't lift anything. So it's like for us to be able to like move through the world, we have to be able to do a lot of these things. In a lot of ways, I think you're giving them back their power, and then also you're giving them this gorgeous regalia to wear as well. So
yeah.
Do you want to talk a little bit about how you came to be a beadworker?
Well, I just started beading because I didn't really like anything that was out there, and I wanted to make designs that I love, but also I used it as a mechanism to tell a story. And even the beads themselves, while they don't belong to us, they come from Europeans, it shows that sense of humanity, also of enjoying convenience. Because for one thing, in the previously, we had used porcupine quills, and porkies are pretty dirty. Like they're picky, so they can't exactly clean themselves. So
you say beads are cleaner than porcupine quills.
Yeah, and they're more convenient because you don't need to work hard with them, and you can achieve a lot with these beads. Yeah.
Well, thanks, Jobena. I'm really very happy that we're able to have this exhibition at Daphne. It's
yes,
fabulous,
I love it, and I'm so honored to be at Daphne too, because it's a really important place, and more people should see it. Yeah.
Miigwech, thank you.